What are some of the most important points that you think show that Trump's going to win?
Well, first of all, an open seat is hard to win, so we don't have the sitting president running. The Democrats took a pasting in the midterms, always a bad sign. You've got a third party. Third parties are bad news for the party in power. You don't have the Obama administration matching anything like the Affordable Care Act in the second term. You don't have a big foreign policy triumph that the Democrats can campaign on, like getting rid of bin Laden. And in Hillary Clinton, you don't have a John F. Kennedy. So that's 6 factors.
Wow, that was American University professor Alan Lichtman on Morning Joe back on September 26th, explaining his basis for predicting that Trump would win the election. He, of course, got it right, adding to his streak of correctly predicting the winner of every presidential election since 1984. And Professor Lichtman joins us again this morning with a new prediction outlined in his new book, The Case for Impeachment.
I'm sorry, look at that. Just look at that cover. That is, just put the cover back up. That is liberal catnip. You can't tell me that any liberal can pass by that, Willie, and not by that book immediately.
They should just start printing the bestseller list now.
It's number one. That is number one right now. Okay, so before we get to that, Professor, I got to ask you, talk about how much abuse, and I'm serious, how much abuse did you get for predicting back in the fall that Donald Trump was going to get elected president when just about everybody else was saying he was going to lose?
People were wondering, you know, if I got my degree from mail order back then, because I went so against the conventional wisdom.
Right.
But that's why I was able to be
right. What about your professors? They didn't eat with you in the cafeteria.
Oh, no. You know, I'm at American University, you know, in the heart of liberal Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
You know, nobody would talk to me. You know, they'd make signs when they saw me coming.
Yeah.
They'd protect themselves. And
well, you've just described every day of my life for the past 54 years. But still, it was pretty remarkable. The prediction was remarkable. What is the worst abuse, the biggest insult you can remember from a colleague or somebody when you made that prediction?
Well, I think the biggest insult was somebody suggesting, who are they hiring these days at American University? And I'm going to have to call the president to get rid of you.
Yeah, get you fired.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. I have something called tenure, though.
Yeah, you do have tenure. There you go. Not for long. Anyway.
No.
I'm joking.
Not once Trump calls the president of AU.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Willie Geist, this book, The Case Against Impeachment, this is the second act in the Lichtman Chronicles.
So let's talk about
Lord
this
of the
book.
Rings.
So do you believe, let's just lay it all out. Do you believe right now there's a basis for the impeachment of Donald Trump, or if things play out a certain way, there could be the basis for impeachment?
Yeah, I'm not saying we should start drawing up articles of impeachment right now. I wrote this book because I do believe the way I see the Trump administration going, that it does pose a threat to our constitutional order, our liberties and freedom, and as you see in North Korea, even our national security.
What specifically would be the articles of impeachment in the House of Representatives right now, for example?
Well, right now, I think you could certainly write something up on conflicts of interest.
Right.
You know, Trump just got all of these trademarks from China right after he seemed to have switched off of his approach to Taiwan. By the way, one of them is for an escort service, and I just read that Ivanka Trump got a bunch of trademarks in China. And I also believe that the envoy from the Philippines to the United States is head of Trump Tower, Manila. And there is something called the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. It's a funny term, but it says you can't receive anything if you're the president of value from a foreign power, and it doesn't require a quid pro quo. Trump's huge mistake that makes him so vulnerable to impeachment on this ground was not fully divesting. Yet he would have taken a hit to his fortune, but he still would have been a billionaire.
We want to clean up. We want to clean up one part here, though, right?
The escort service?
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a connection made there from the president. They were trying to use his name. It wasn't him.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough.
But do you believe that these existing charges that you've just laid out, do you think that's there now? Like somebody could draw up an article of impeachment this afternoon in the House of Representatives? Or are you saying that if there's an investigation that shows a direct line on all these issues, then you bring it up?
I think there's got to be more of an investigation.
Okay.
You can't draw up articles of impeachment right now. But I think the most likely ground for impeachment is going to be collusion with Russia, depending on what comes out of these investigations.
So this looks like this book.
Yeah.
We're Mark Halperin just looking through it. It looks like it's, again, looking at historical parallels, the characteristics and the traits that Donald Trump has compared to other presidents who have been impeached and ran into trouble subsequently.
Well, as
This is not
Professor
a
points
brief.
out, there's not a huge sample space here. We haven't had very many presidents impeached.
Right.
So parallels may not get you to the answer. I just want to clear up two things. One is, you mentioned your degree was not mail order. It was from Trump University, right? That's where your PhD is from?
I paid him tens of thousands of dollars so I can get on programs like this.
The
with my
case for
degree.
impeachment, are you advocating impeachment or are you predicting it?
Well, I'm not advocating impeachment right now.
Right, but are you predicting that it's going to happen?
I am predicting that it's very likely to happen. But if you notice, there's a chapter called The Way Out, in which I suggest Trump can change his ways and possibly avoid impeachment. I don't know if that is possible. But what I tried to do was write a guide for the American people, because impeachment will only happen if the American people demand it. Or if the Republicans in the House come to believe that Trump is a liability, which they may well, and you guys are talking about this special election in Georgia, which could be a harbinger of that. So if he becomes a liability, they may be willing to dump him before the 2018 midterms. And remember, Trump has no particularly strong relationships with Republicans in Congress, and they love Mike Pence.
Yeah.
And if Pence becomes president, guess what?
Oh, my God.
He appoints his vice president. And you could have the Republican dream team
That
of
would
Mike
be.
Pence and Paul Ryan. Think about that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, think about that.
I'd probably go with the Easter Bunny, I would think.
I think it's looking good these days.
But
You
that's
know,
why you
that
got to
was
go
Paul
read the
Ryan
book.
in there. All right, Mark.
So, what are the chances that a Republican-controlled Congress would actually impeach the president? I know you said they may want to separate, but there's one thing to politically separate. It's another to impeach the president and party. Wouldn't that plunge the Republican Party into huge controversy?
Of course, but they're already into huge controversy. You've seen the recent polls with the plummeting standing of the Republicans in Congress, and a recent poll showing even a majority of Republicans no longer believe that Congress needs to go along with the Trump
But most
agenda.
House members are in districts where the president's overwhelmingly popular.
We'll see. It doesn't take all the Republicans. You got to understand this.
Right.
Assuming the Democrats stand firm, it only takes about 24 Republicans. You have many more than that in vulnerable districts.
Right. And
Alan
we will
Lichtman.
see again in Georgia exactly, whether that's one
Well,
less
we'll wait
Republican.
and see.
All right.
Alan Lichtman, thank you very much.
Thank you,
The book
Professor.
is
Thank you. We'll
The
see you
Case
again.
for Impeachment. My goodness. And you can read an excerpt on our website, morningjoe.msnbc.com. President Trump is seeking to hold true to his America First campaign promise. Today, he will sign a twofold executive order that will clamp down on guest worker visas and also require agencies to buy more goods and services from U.S. companies and workers. He will sign the Buy American, Hire American executive order during a visit today to the Snap-on manufacturing company in Wisconsin. It makes commonly used tools and equipment for mechanics and contractors. We'll go live to Sarah Eisen on this next.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.